we will start with electrical measurements. So electrical measurements, there are two types. One based on galvanometers, others based on bridges. Can you hear? Now first we will look at galvanometer based measurements, and later on we will go to bridge based measurements, right? For the galvanometer measurements, the basic measuring device is moving coil galvanometer. Now I have shown the picture here, you can see. Now this moving coil galvanometer will have a core. A core is on an axis which is balanced by two springs, right? They are called upper and lower restraining springs. That is to keep the core at a particular position without rotating, right? So if you turn this core a little bit, because of these springs, it will come back to the original position, right? That is the idea of the two springs, right? So it is these two springs are controlling the rotation. To the axis we have connected a pointer, right? So the pointer is normally pointing to 0 in the scale, and that is how the springs are keeping the core position, right? Now we have two permanent magnets on both sides with north and south. When you apply a current to the coil here in the core, there will be a magnetic force that is generated between the permanent magnet and the core, and because of that magnetic force, the core will start rotating. So when the core rotates, the pointer will move from 0 towards full scale deflection. Now if you remove the current, the pointer will come back to 0, right? I have shown the pointer in between, but normally the pointer is when no current is applied, the pointer is at 0. Okay. Now this is the basic element that we are using for any galvanometer based measurements, right? So now we can't be drawing all these drawings all the time. So what we will do is we will make a symbol for the galvanometer, right? So if you want to represent the galvanometer in a circuit, if you put a G, is more than enough. Or if you want to put it with some details, you can draw it like this with a scale. Then you have a coil, right, and a small pointer. So these are terminals of the galvanometer where you apply current. Okay. Now this coil is same as this coil here in the core, right? These are permanent magnets, so we don't have to represent that. Only the electrical component here is this coil. So the coil will have naturally a resistance. We call it internal resistance of the galvanometer, so we put it as Rg, right? So if you want to take down, take down. So the deflection or the movement of this rotation of this coil, we call it deflection. So the deflection is represented by an angle theta from say 0 position. This is theta. Now this theta is proportional to the current applied. So we can mathematically write this theta proportional to I, because the magnetic force is proportional to current, therefore the theta is proportional to I, right? So this is the most important information that we get from this diagram, right? Any deflection is proportional to current, and if you remove the current, when the current is 0, deflection is 0, therefore the pointer will come back to original position, right? So if you want to represent this in a graphical form, or in a graph, you can write it like this: theta proportional to current, y equal mx, right? So this kind of representation will be required when you do the structure questions. So depending on how we keep this pointer, whether it's from 0 or some other point, we can have categorized galvanometers into two types. I will erase this. So the scale of the galvanometer may start from 0 at one end, right, and go to the maximum measuring point, right? We call this full scale deflection. The maximum value the current can measure, the measured current is called the full scale deflection, right? In this case, the galvanometer is starting from 0 and going in only one direction. Therefore, the direction of the galvanometer is very important. The current is very important, right? If you change the direction of the current, the pointer cannot move this way, right? So it will be stuck. So always when there is a galvanometer with the 0 on one edge, we should be very careful of the polarity. When you connect the galvanometer in a circuit, you should know where the current is flowing. If you wrongly connect it, it won't work, right? Or it can get burned. There is another type of galvanometer where the 0 is kept in the middle, right? This is called center 0 galvanometer, right? Now this can move on either direction, right? So it can be a positive FSD, full scale deflection, or a negative full scale deflection. So this type of galvanometer, you don't have to worry about the polarity. You can connect it anyway, but it will also indicate in which direction the current is flowing, right? So if you connect the terminal to positive and negative correctly, it will go to the positive side, so you know the current direction. And if you reverse the current, it will come to this side. So from this galvanometer, you can even identify the direction of the current flow, right? Whereas in this type, you should be mindful about how you are going to connect the galvanometer, right? So this can be used to find the direction, can show the direction of current flow. This should be connected properly with correct polarity. Any doubt from this? Anybody having doubt? So I will summarize. We have the galvanometer, that is the basic measuring element here, right? And it has a core and two permanent magnets and a pointer with the scale. When you apply a current, there will be a deflection in the pointer, and the deflection angle, that theta, is proportional to the current flow, theta proportional to I, right? And then depending on where the initial position of the pointer, that means the 0 point, if it is in the middle, it is center 0 galvanometer. This can be used to measure current in either directions, right? So you don't have to worry about the polarity when you connect
center 0 galvanometer. But if your 0 is on one end, right, this can measure current in only one direction. So when you connect the galvanometer, you should be mindful about the polarity, right? So check the polarity before connecting the galvanometer, right? And the other important parameter is the full scale deflection. The full scale deflection is the maximum current, right, a galvanometer can bear, right? So say we'll assume galvanometer like this. So we have a full scale deflection. Now the current that flows in the coil I, when it is pointing the extreme end of the scale, that is full scale deflection of the scale, this I is called IFSD, and this is the maximum current the coil can withstand. If you apply a higher current than full scale deflection, the coil will be burned, right? So we should always make sure that before measuring any electrical, or before connecting the galvanometer in any electrical circuit, we should have an estimate of the maximum current that can flow in a circuit, right? So without estimating it, you should not connect the galvanometer or any meter. So that is the most important thing in measurement. Always you should have an idea how much current that is going to flow. That is usually calculated, and then only you can measure. If you just start using the galvanometer without knowing how much current is going to flow, it will burn your meter, right? So at the full scale deflection, now we know that this coil has a resistance, right? So it just acts as a resistor, and when you apply a current, I full scale or whatever current, does need to be I full scale deflection, say is I, and assume that the terminal, the voltage between terminals. Now when you apply, according to Ohm's law, when you apply a current, a voltage is generated between the terminals of a resistor, right? This is just like a resistor. So when you apply a current, there will be a voltage that is produced, or potential drop that is produced, right? So we know that from Ohm's law, the potential drop V equal to I into Rg, right? So at full scale deflection, VFSD equal to IFSD, full scale deflection current, into Rg. Now we know that Rg is constant, right? So because Rg is constant, now we know that since theta proportional to I, theta proportional to I, theta is also proportional to V because this is constant. Understand? So that means a galvanometer can be used as a voltmeter as well as an ammeter. It can be used to measure a current or a voltage, right? Both are same because the only thing that is controlling is Rg and Rg is constant, right? So if it is proportional to I, it is also proportional to V. So therefore, a galvanometer can be used to measure voltage and current, right? So, and we will learn later on, we can also use this galvanometer to measure resistance. So the galvanometer can be used to measure current, voltage, as well as resistance, right? So we will see how we do this one by one. Okay. First, we will take current. How we are going to say resistance, ampere, voltage, ohm. Now we will first take how we measure current in a galvanometer, using a galvanometer. So galvanometer as ammeter. So when you say ammeter, ammeter can measure current in milliamps or amps usually, but you can go into kiloamps also, doesn't matter, but we will consider normally milliamps and amperes, right? Now we know that usually the galvanometer can be used to directly measure in milliamps. A milliamp range of current can be directly measured by a galvanometer, right? But when it comes to measuring ampere range of current, say 1 ampere, 10 ampere, 100 ampere, and so on. So in this case, say 100 milliamps, right? Say, okay, 1 milliamp, 10 milliamp, 100 milliamps. You can directly use the galvanometer. Right? In this case, we need to modify G to measure higher values. Higher current. Okay. So we will first take the case of galvanometer for measuring milliamps of current, right? And we'll see how we can analyze the performance of a galvanometer, right? So for that, I will take a small example. So there's a galvanometer example. the parameters given for the galvanometer are full scale deflection 100 milliamps, right? And the internal resistance Rg of galvanometer is, that is the coil resistance of the galvanometer is 20 ohm, right? Now we'll see, now when they say full scale deflection is 100 milliamps, that means it has a range. Now it can measure 0. Now we know that from the scale, it is, the full scale deflection is here, K is 0. But the meter can measure from starting from 0, any current between 0 and full scale deflection. So this range of currents is called the range of the galvanometer. So the range of the galvanometer, when you say range, we have to say 0 to 100 milliamps, right? For the range. Now we will now check a simple circuit. So there's a load resistance R, say 40 ohm, and this voltage source has a EMF E equal 4 volts, and say the internal resistance will say assume 0. Now, can we use this galvanometer to measure the current in the circuit? Right. So the first thing is, before connecting this galvanometer, right? Before connecting this galvanometer into this circuit, we have to make a small calculation and see what is the current that is going to flow here. Otherwise, without knowing if you connect it, the meter can be burned, right? Because the meter can withstand the maximum current of 100 milliamps, because the range is 0 to 100 milliamps. So the maximum current that can withstand is 100 milliamps, right? So we'll apply, say, Ohm's law. Now, when you say Ohm's law can be valid only for resistances, right? When you say in a circuit, you can't use an Ohm's law, right? In a circuit, you have to use Kirchhoff law. If it is a junction, Kirchhoff current law. If it is a loop, you have to use Kirchhoff voltage law, right? But when it comes to resistance, because in this circuit, there is only one resistor, there is no other device connected here, there is only one resistor and the voltage source. There is no other voltage going anywhere. So whatever the voltage that is applied by this battery is appearing across the resistor, right? The voltage is going nowhere. It is directly applied across the resistor. So therefore, the current that is produced by the battery is same as the current that is going through the resistor. So we can apply Ohm's law for this resistor, right? So that is V equal to IR, right? Now this V is same as E, that is 4 volts. So we substitute it here. 4 equal I into R is given 20 ohm. Sorry. R is 40 ohm, right? So the current that is going through the circuit is 4 divided by 40, that is 0.1 amperes. 0.1 amperes means if you multiply by 1000, you can write it in millions. So that is 100 millions, right? So the current here is 100 milliamps. Now we have made a calculation for this circuit and we have derived the maximum current that can flow in this circuit, right? So we know that is 100 milliamps and the full scale deflection of the given meter is 100 milliamps. Therefore, this meter can be directly used to measure the current in this circuit, right? Now, we will redraw this circuit. Say, this is A with the meter, right? Now, I am going to introduce this meter into this circuit. Now, I have calculated the current now. I am going to measure the current now, right? Already the current is calculated and we know that the maximum current is 100 milliamps. Now we will see whether the meter is measuring the same current, right? When you connect the meter here, right? So we will introduce, and you know that the current ammeter is measuring current. Therefore, it should be connected in series with the device. The device here is resistance. Now we want to know the current through the resistance, right? Therefore, we have to connect the galvanometer in series with the resistance so that the current through the resistance and the current through the galvanometer are the same, right? So if the galvanometer measures the current, that is the current that is flowing through the resistance also. So when you draw the circuit, always draw the galvanometer in series with the load. So the load resistor is 40 ohm, already given. Galvanometer has an internal resistance, right? We can forget this, that is not 0, that is 20 ohm, right? Now, this is 4 volts. The new current will not be the same, right? Because earlier the voltage was 4 volts, here also 4 volts. But the total current in the circuit, the resistance in the circuit now is different, right? So we have added an additional resistor, that is the internal resistance of the galvanometer, into the circuit. So the new resistance is a series combination of 40 ohm and 20 ohm, that is 60 ohm, right? So if you measure the new current, say I dash will be the same calculation, right? It's 4 volts divided by the new resistor, 60 ohm. So this comes to 67 milliamps. If you calculate it, it will come to 67 milliamps. Now, we have many things to understand from this simple calculation. That is, when the actual circuit is there without the galvanometer, we could calculate the current should be 100 milliamps, right? We also expect when you connect a galvanometer, the same current should be measured, right? That is expectation. But when you connect the galvanometer in series with the resistor, the total resistance in the circuit is now modified to 60 ohm, right? So the resistor is increasing. When the resistor is increasing, the current will drop, right? So the new current is 67 milliamps, right? So by introducing the galvanometer, we expected that the galvanometer will read the same current as the calculated current, but the measured current will be different because the galvanometer will only measure whatever the current that is going through it, right? So because of this resistance, the current has dropped and the galvanometer is reading the new current, right? So this is the error in the measurement, right? So ideally, we expected this to be 100 milliamps, the measured current and the calculated current to be the same, but now it is not that, right? So we consider this as a error, right? So if we want to reduce this error or eliminate this error, what is the condition? What is the condition? Yeah. So if you want to say, for example, now we said we have 40 ohm resistor and we introduce the galvanometer. So because of this galvanometer, the actual current or measured current has come down. Now, if you want to get the same results as what you calculated, what is the condition? Yes, the internal resistance of the galvanometer should ideally be 0. If it is 0, we will get the same result, even in the measurement, right? When the galvanometer resistance is 0, the measured current and the actual current will become same. Calculated current and the measured current will be the same. But since galvanometer resistance cannot be eliminated, all practical galvanometers will have some sort of resistance. There will always be an error in the measurement, right? So we can't avoid this measurement error, right? But ideally, a galvanometer should have the 0 resistance. So the tendency is that if we can make the galvanometer resistance as small as possible, right, we can reduce the error. Now we'll calculate the error. Now we wanted to reach this calculated value of 100 milliamps, but we received 67 milliamps or measured 67 milliamps. So what is the error here? $100 milliamps minus 67 milliamps. That is 33 milliamps. That is error. Now the error percentage error, right? For 100 milliamps measurement, the error is 33. So 33 divided by 100. For 100 milliamps, we got an error 33 milliamps. Therefore, for 100, if you calculate, that is 33%. So 33% is a very huge error, right? So the percentage error is very huge. Now we will see how can we at least reduce this error in our measurement. Okay, so I will repeat this because now this is the first calculation we are doing. I will repeat whatever I have done. We are given a galvanometer with a full scale deflection of 100 milliamps and internal resistance of 20 ohm, and we said that the range of the galvanometer is 0 to 100 milliamps. So any value between 0 and 100 milliamps, this galvanometer can be used to measure. Right? Now we'll take the case first, the case A where we don't connect the galvanometer. We will estimate the current that can flow in this circuit. Right? So we use Ohm's law to calculate the current here, and we achieve 100 milliamps here. Right? So the 100 milliamps is a calculated current. Now then, we again came to the case of galvanometer being connected in series with the resistor, right, load. And when you connect the galvanometer, you have 40 ohm and 20 ohm in series. So the circuit resistance is now modified. So therefore, the current is going to change now. The total resistance is 60 ohm. Now we calculated the new current, that is 67 milliamps, right? Because this is the current that is going through galvanometer, the measured current by the galvanometer is 67 milliamps. So there is a difference between measuring and calculated, the measured value and the calculated value, right? So we say this as an error. So for 100 milliamps measurement, we had an error of 33 milliamps. So therefore, we considered the error percentage, that is 33%. 33% error is a very huge error, right, in a measurement circuit. So we will see what happens to this error in different circuit combinations, right? So take this down. To analyze what happens to this error, we will consider different types of circuits using the same galvanometer. So the galvanometer, I'll write it down here. Galvanometer has a SFD of 100 milliamps. So that means the range is 0 to 100. And it has a internal resistance of 20 ohm. So I will take 3 cases. The first case, let's say 1. E is 50 volts, R0, and the load resistance is 500 ohm. Second one, E is 120 ohm, 120 volts, and the load resistor is 1200 ohm. Okay, this two enough. So what I am going to do is, I am going to calculate percentage error for these two cases using the same galvanometer. The first thing is, we have to calculate, estimate the current without the galvanometer, right? So the current here, without the galvanometer, the current is 50 volts divided by 500 ohm. So that is 0.1 ampere, that is 100 milliamps. We can use this meter to measure this current. Then we introduce the galvanometer in the circuit. This is RG 20 ohm. This one is load is 500 ohm, 50 volts, right? So the current, new current I dash is 50 divided by 500 plus 20, that is 96 million. Now the error, we wanted 100 milliamps to be measured, but we measured value is 96 milliamps. So the error is 100 minus 96, that is 4 milliamps. Percentage error is 4 divided by 100 into 100, that is 4%. Then for the next circuit, the estimated current I, voltage is 120 divided by 1200, that is also 0.1, that is 100 milliamps. So this 100 milliamps, the galvanometer can be used, right? So we will move on to connecting the galvanometer in this circuit. Is volt and R is 1200 ohm and RG is 20 ohm. So new I dash is 120 divided by 1200 plus 20. So this comes to about 98 million. Now we can calculate the error. 100 minus 98, that is 2 milliamps. The error percentage is 2 for 100 milliamps, we get 2 milliamps. So for 100, this is 2%. Now earlier in our first circuit, we got a percentage error of 33%. Now here, the first case we get 4%, the second case we get 2%. So what is the significance here? Why the error percentage is coming down? Yes. Now here in this case, in the previous case, the load resistance was 40 ohm, right? Galvanometer resistance was 20 ohm. In the first case here, the load resistance is 500 ohm, galvanometer resistance is 20 ohm. The second case, load resistance is 1200, galvanometer resistance is 20. So compared to internal resistance of the galvanometer, when the load resistance increases, the error percentage drops, right? Because when the load resistance is very much higher than the galvanometer resistance, the effect of the galvanometer resistance is less, because the current is mainly influenced by the load resistance, not by the galvanometer resistance, because there is a big difference, right? So by selecting the galvanometer resistance, or galvanometers with an internal resistance compared to the load resistance, we can eliminate the error percentage, right? So that is the main idea that we get from here, right? So we have to make sure that the measuring instrument has, or galvanometer has a smaller resistance, very much smaller resistance compared to the load resistance. Otherwise, if the galvanometer resistance and the load resistance are comparable, we will get large errors. So in the case, if you summarize, we'll take this down. I'll summarize the analysis. RG 20 ohm, FSD 100 million, right? When load resistance is 40 ohm, percentage error equals 33%. When RL is load resistance is 500 ohm, the error percentage is 4%. When RL is 1200 ohm, the error percentage is 2%. So the conclusion that we get is when load resistance is comparably very higher than internal resistance, RG, the error percentage is dropping. So that is the conclusion we arrive. Okay, the next section. Now we know that a galvanometer has a very small measuring range in milliamps, but in most of the practical cases we will have to measure larger currents than 100 milliamps. So how we can modify the galvanometer to measure larger currents, right? So that means what we are talking about is increasing the range of the galvanometer. Increasing range of galvanometer. Yeah, talking all this under ammeter, right? Current measurements. Now, the galvanometer that we use has 100 milliamps full scale deflection. Now, say somebody comes and tell you, I want to measure 1 amp, right? So how can we modify this galvanometer to measure 1 amp? So we first draw the usual galvanometer setup. We have a scale that is marked from say 100 million. Now this this FSD, we'll say IG is the FSD, right? The galvanometer current, IG, and the resistance is RG. Now this is the current that this coil can withstand. Now this instrument now is going to be connected to a external circuit, right? To measure a very higher current, say I Assume this I is 1 amp or whatever, right? Now we have to measure a current like that. Now the current that is going into the device should be 1 amp, whereas the coil can withstand only 100 milliamps. So there should be another internal arrangement to divert the balance current through some other circuit, right? So the usual setup what we use here is to connect a shunt resistor. A shunt means a parallel path, right? We can connect a very low resistance compared to this resistance Rg that is connected in parallel to the galvanometer resistance, that galvanometer coil, right? Now we know that this galvanometer can withstand in the range of 100 milliamps. So if this is assumed this is 1 amp, that is 1000 milliamps, right? If this coil can withstand only 100 milliamps, the balance 900 milliamps should go through this path, right? So therefore, this shunt resistor Rs, we say Rs, this shunt resistor should be very much smaller than Rg, right? Because resistor is something that is giving a block to the current flow, right? Resistance to the current flow. So the higher the resistance, higher the resistance, the blockade that makes, right? So therefore, the shunt resistor should be very much smaller than the galvanometer resistance, right? Then only a larger current will flow through this path, while only allowing the full scale deflection current through this or less than that, right? So we will say Ig is the current, that is the full galvanometer current. The current to be measured in the external circuit is 1 amp. So the current through this shunt resistor should be I minus Ig, right? Make it clearly. So this current is I minus Ig, right? Now we have to calculate the value of Rs that should be connected in parallel, right? Okay, now we'll try to write an equation for this. Assume these 2 points are A and B, right? So the current here enters is I and this is also I. This current is divided between Ig and I minus Ig. Ig is going through internal resistor and I minus Ig is going to shunt resistor. Now we can write Ohm's law for this Rg and Rs, right? So if you calculate VAB, voltage across terminal VAB for shunt resistor, that is Ig into Rg for the shunt resistor. Then the same VAB is applied across, shunt resistor also. Now this is for the galvanometer resistance. The same VAB is there across shunt resistor also. So we can write Ohm's law for shunt resistor. So VAB equal I minus Ig, that is the current through shunt resistor, into Rs. Now we know that the voltages are same, so we can equate Ig into Rg equal, right, the other way around, I minus Ig into Rs equal Ig into Rg. Therefore, Rs equal Ig into Rg divided by I minus Ig. This is the method to calculate the shunt resistor. So you may be asked to, right? You may be given a galvanometer with a full scale deflection and the given internal resistance, and you may be asked to calculate the shunt resistor to be connected in series, in parallel, or in shunt, to modify it as a ammeter with a new full scale deflection of say 1 amp. Right? Now what we are doing now, by connecting a shunt resistor, we are increasing the range of the galvanometer. So the previous full scale deflection is say 100 milliamps. The new full scale deflection will be 1 amp. We can mark it now. Right? So when the current is 0, no current will flow through this, and no current flow through this. Right? At full scale deflection, the maximum current that can flow here is 100 milliamps, for example. The balance 1 amp should, the balance 900 milliamps should go through the shunt resistor. Right? So that will make the total meter as of having a full scale deflection of 1 amp. Right? Okay. Now, at full scale deflection, now to calculate RS, now we'll take an example. Take this down. Galvanometer. The full scale deflection is 100 milliamps and 20 ohm internal resistance. Now we are shunting it with a resistor RS, so that the external circuit should have a full scale deflection of 1 amp, that is 1000 milliamps. So at full scale deflection, the maximum current that can flow through this path, Ig, is only 100 milliamps. So therefore, current through this path should be 900 milliamps. Right? So if you substitute this in this equation, RS at full scale deflection, RS is Ig. Ig is the full scale deflection current, 100 milliamps. I'll put everything in milliamps so that you don't have to multiply by 10 to the power minus 3 into Rg is 20 divided by I minus. I is the external current to be measured, that is 1000 milliamps, minus Ig, that is 100 milliamps. So 100 into 20 divided by 900. That is 20 divided 9, 2.22 ohm. Right. So you can see our galvanometer resistance is 20 ohms, right? The shunt resistor is 2.22 ohms. That is almost 10 times smaller. Right? So when you want to increase the range, always connect a small resistor. The resistor smaller than, very much smaller than the galvanometer resistance, so that most of the current will flow through the shunt path. The galvanometer will be measuring only the, so although it is measuring only the allowed current through it, the scale can be modified now, right? So when you draw the scale, you can, the original scale will be from 0 to 100 milliamps. The new scale you can draw on top of that, that will be from 0 to 1 amp or 1000 milliamps. then you can scale it down, say 500, 250, because it is linear, 750, whereas this will be 75, 50, 25, right? Now, to check whether this scale is linear, right? Look, what you can do is, instead of 1000 milliamps, you can put 500 milliamps, right? So if you put 500 milliamps, the resistance, the IG for the same resistance, right? The IG will be 50 milliamps. So that means when IG is 50 milliamps, the new load current is 500 milliamps. So that is always linear. Understand? In this equation, you know RS now, right? So with the for the same RS, calculate IG. Okay? And we earlier said, when the galvanometer resistance is smaller than the load resistance, the percentage error is reduced, right? Now, by connecting a shunt, right, we are reducing the overall resistance, no? Right? As a shunt, we always connect a very low resistance, okay, and that is connected in parallel to the galvanometer. So the overall effective resistance is now very much smaller. But we know that when two parallel resistances are there, the equivalent resistance is smaller than the smallest resistance in the circuit, right? So in this case, the galvanometer resistance is 20 ohm, shunt resistance is 2.2 ohm, right? So the equivalent resistance will be less than 2.2 ohm, right? Okay. So therefore, by connecting the shunt, we are actually reducing the meter resistance, right? So that will improve the error percentage. That means error percentage will be reduced, right? So improvement means less. So lesser the error, the measurement is improved, right? So by connecting shunt, we can always improve the resistance. Sorry, error percentage. Any questions? I'll write a small table to summarize this. Measured current, that is the external circuit current, right? Say I as earlier. Then we have shunt resistor, RS. Then effective internal resistance, that is R is parallel RG, right, for the meter. Then what will happen to error percentage, right? So I will draw a multi-ammeter. I'll keep this information with me now. Multi-ammeter. Any question? So we had this RG here, RG here, and we had a scale from 0 to 100 milliamps. Okay. Now, in the first case, when we wanted to measure 1 amp, 0 to 1 amp, we connected a shunt resistor of 20 by 9 ohm. So we take that case, a shunt 20 by 9 will give me a range of 0 to 1 amp. Now what we can do, we can introduce a selector switch, which you can switch like this. Then this is for 0 to 1 amp. If you want to measure 0 to 10 amp, we can extend this, put the resistance 20 by 99 here, and we can mark this as 0 to 10 amp, right? So if you connect it in a arc like this, so that this selector can move in a circular fashion, right? Now, when you want to measure 0 to 1 amp, you select it or connect it here. When you want to measure 0 to 10 amp, you switch it here, right? Here. Then if you want to measure 0 to 100 amps, you connect this 20 by 999 ohm, right? And it goes here. So likewise, you can keep increasing the range. And then if you want to measure only 0 to 100 amps, what you are doing is you have a null point here, no connection. So the shunt is passed here. So that is for 0 to 100 milliamps. So 0 to 100 milliamps, we don't need a shunt. So therefore, if you connect this null point here, it won't be connected anywhere, right? No shunt. Therefore, only current will pass through the galvanometer. I summarize. Now, this becomes our new meter, right? We don't need this now. Erase. Now you can see this is our multi-amp meter, right? And for this multi-amp meter, what I am going to do, this was the original scale. Now I put 3 other scales, right, for these ranges. So I'll put one here, that is for 0 to 1 amp. Then another scale here, 0 to 10 amp. Then one more scale, 0 to 100 amp. So it will have multiple scales. So each time you switch these, you have to refer to the corresponding scale, right? When you switch it to, say, position A, that belongs to the original scale. So you read this, right? When you connect it to B, it goes to 0 to 1 amp scale, right? When you connect it to C, it goes to 0 to 10 amp scale, and when you connect it to D, it goes to 0 to 100 amp scale, right? So while selecting this selector to the required range, we have to switch to the required scale, corresponding scale, right? That is how a multi-ammeter is produced. Now the total external current, this is the external current to the meter. Now this is what we are representing here. 100 milliamps, 1 amp, 10 amp, 100 amp. Any questions? So, although this is the internal circuit arrangement, your multi-ammeter physically might look like this, right? So, you have the deflecting pointer and different scales, which you can see from outside, right? 0, 100, 1, 10, 100 amps, and so on, right? So you have the pointer connected to the core of the galvanometer. Then you might either have this rotating or changing tap changer like thing, right? So you can either have say something like this, a switch selector with an arrow that can change from 0 to 100 milliamps, 1 amp, 10 amps, 100 amps, and so on. Okay, it's a select. The physical arrangement, and these terminals will be there, right? So this is the electrical circuit. This is a physical appearance. Okay. We can also have another arrangement. Now, instead of say we are using different resistors here, right, for each range, right? Or you can try a different approach where instead of having different complete resistances here, we can have a cumulative type of arrangement, right? Say you have RG here, right? The shunt, first you can have this 22 by 9. Sorry, 20 by 999. By 999. That comes to about 0.02 ohm. Then, so you take a pointer from here, 0 to 100 amps. Now, because I am using this one, because this is smallest resistance, right? I first take the smallest resistance, I put it here, right? Then the next resistance, I want to take this range, right? So what I do is, I only put here the difference between this one and this, right? So that is, what is coming here is 20 by 99 minus 20 by 999, right? So this will give me the total resistance is 20 by 999, right? 20 by 99 corresponds to 0 to 10 amps, right? So this, if you take a tap here, that will be, this is 0 to 100 amps, this is 0 to 10 amps. Then again, I put another resistance, that is, this one is about 0.182 ohm. Then here I put 20 by 9 minus what? 20 by 9. Then I will get 0 to 1 amp. Then I also will have a another point, that is for 0 to 100 milliamps, which will not be connected. Now my new pointer will connect all these three, selected, sorry, and that is connected in shunt. It's an alternative arrangement, right? We keep reducing the resistors, subtracting from the previous one. Now this is 20 by 99. This one is the balance only, 20 by 99 minus 20 by 999, right? So this one will be the balance of all these, 20 by minus 99. So if you calculate it, you can see. So this is an alternative arrangement. So this comes to about 2.02 ohm. So here the circuit will be like this. Alternative circuit for multi-ammeter. The only thing is the same as this. Instead of using individual complete resistances, now we are using the smallest one here, then the difference between the next one and the difference between the next one as additional resistance. So you take tapping from here, here, here. Right? Please copy. So if we generalize this, multimeter as I said earlier, I minus Ig into Rs is equal to Ig Rg, right? If you multiply it, I into Rs minus Ig Rs equal to Ig into Ra. Ig is the whole scale reflection current of the galvanometer, so it is almost constant. Sorry, Rg. I into Rs equal to take Ig, Ig Rg plus Ig Rs. If you divide by Rs, I equal Ig Rg divided by into 1 upon Rs plus Ig. And you know that Ig and Rg are constants because Ig is also full scale reflection current for the galvanometer. So that is constant. This is also constant. So this is the current to be measured. Now this is the shunt we had used. So if you draw a graph between shunt resistor, 1 upon shunt resistor and current, it comes to as Y equal Mx plus C. So if you draw a graph, right, it comes like this. The y-axis you get I, the x-axis 1 upon R. This, right? Now for different ranges of current you want to measure. Now if you can draw the graph here, for different ranges of current you have to measure, you can find the shunt resistance required, right? Now we said the shunt resistance will be dropping when the current increasing, but here it is 1 upon Rs, right? Since it is 1 upon Rs, it will be other way around. 1 upon Rs will increase when the current increases, right? So whatever it is, we can calculate 1 upon R. Say this is 1 upon Rs 1, 1 upon Rs 2, it's not 2, say 2, 1 upon Rs 3, and so on, right? So if you know 1 upon Rs, you can calculate that Rs. So this is the general theory, generalize this, right? So that you can use it anywhere. So in the structured questions, they can easily ask, draw a graph right? And then because you can be given this, IG can be given, RG can be given, so you can draw this graph. So from the graph, you can find the different values of 1 upon RS for each range of current that is required, right? So we can take, the same process will be there for voltmeter, and we have to do the ohm meter, right? Same type of calculation. We will do it next class. Ohm meter. Then we can go to the integrate all these three into multimeter. So we will do the multi-voltmeter and the ohm meter, and then combine all three into multimeter.